The treaty Truce, Second Peace of Novgorod, was concluded in March 1557. It ended the Russo-Swedish War, a series of skirmishes in the Viborg and Oreshek areas resulting from Swedish attempts to keep Livonia, where the Teutonic Order's rule had collapsed, out of the Russian sphere of influence. Negotiations and ratification. Since 1554, Gustav I of Sweden had attempted to draw the Livonian gentry into an alliance with Sweden, Denmark, Norway and Poland-Lithuania, but Livonia refused. Thus, Gustav I started negotiations for a Russo-Swedish peace with Novgorod's governor, Prince Mikhail Vasilyevich Glinski. Novgorod was the traditional Russo-Swedish contact point, and Russian Tsar Ivan IV the Terrible refused to negotiate with Sweden directly, since he regarded elected King Gustav I to be of lower status than a hereditary Tsar as himself. Gustav I, on the other hand, did not recognize the Russian Tsar as an emperor. He also questioned whether the Duchy of Muscovy could represent Russia. Therefore, he wanted to send the Swedish commander of Viborg Castle as negotiator. In the end, Ivan IV claimed that he made an exception and allowed Swedish delegation, led by Sten Eriksson Lejon Havud, Gustav I's brother-in-law and Laurentius Petri, Archbishop of Uppsala, to leave Novgorod for an audience in Moscow, where they met him in person. The Swedish delegation comprised 100 men. The delegates had entered Russia after a Bo-clergy Knut Johannesson had acquired the necessary permit in Moscow in 1556. The delegates had arrived in Moscow already on the 24th of February 1557, but the conclusion of the treaty was delayed until the end of March by the fasting period. The treaty was then signed between Novgorod and Sweden, and introduced a Russo-Swedish truce set to expire in 40 years. Sweden further agreed to not support Livonia or Poland-Lithuania in case of a war between those and Russia. In addition, Swedish envoys were again barred from ever meeting the Russian Tsar, and referred to Novgorod for further contacts. On the 2nd of April, in Novgorod, the treaty was put into effect by kissing the cross, following Russian tradition as demanded by Ivan IV. Michael Agricola, who translated the New Testament into Finnish and is regarded father of the Finnish written language, was also part of the delegation. He died of illness on the way back in Uuzakirko. Consequences. Half a year later, an anti-Russian, Polish-Lithuanian-Livonian alliance was established by the Treaty of Pozval. Russia reacted promptly and invaded Livonia, starting the Livonian War between Denmark, Livonia, Poland, Lithuania, Russia and Sweden. The Grand Master of the Teutonic Order stayed in Livonia, Gotthard von Ketteler, subordinated the Order's territory and himself to Poland-Lithuania in the treaties of Vilna. Yet these measures did not prevent Russian occupation of most of Livonia. Erik XIV, Swedish king since 1560, coveted the Livonian port of Reval, and the Russo-Swedish truce was renegotiated and set to last 20 years in August 1561, with Reval subordinating itself to Swedish rule. In the Treaty of Dorpat, Ivan IV of Russia accepted the subordinates of Reval and some Livonian castles to Erik XIV, and in turn Erik XIV accepted the subordinates of the rest of Livonia to Ivan IV. Russian-Swedish relations deteriorated when Prince and later King John III of Sweden married Catherine Jagellon, who before he had rejected Ivan IV. In early 1565, another truce was signed with Sweden, this time set to last 7 years. In 1566, Russia and Poland-Lithuania held talks about an expulsion of the Swedes from Livonia and a partition of Livonia among themselves. In 1570, Magnus of Livonia was made King of Livonia in Moscow as a vassal of Ivan IV, and pursued to siege Reval supplied provided with 20,000 Russian soldiers and 15,000 rubles granted to him by the Tsar. Magnus soon defected and Russia was defeated by Sweden and the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in the Livonian War that ended with the Treaty of Plaza. After renewed hostilities, however, the conflict would not be concluded until the Treaty of Tuzina in 1595, whereby the borders according to the Peace of Novgorod between Sweden and Novgorod from 1323 were finally agreed between Sweden and Russia. Russia had to resign all claims to Estonia,